Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 greatest Shostakovich recordings. Oh, these are amazing. Absolutely amazing. And as with others in this series, I have asked if you know the composer did things other than one thing, like Shostakovich did things besides symphonies. Include those other things in your list of the 5 greatest ever recordings. At least assuming you know some of those. You really should, because it gives us the widest possible picture of the composer's actual achievement. One person actually wrote a comment in which they very snidely remarked, well, what if the 5 objectively greatest recordings are all one thing, like symphonies or string quartets or something like that? And I didn't even bother to answer. I mean, some people just have no sense of humor. There's nothing you can do about it, and they think they're being very smart and pointing these things out. And I don't want to, make comments where I'm like, being disrespectful. It's only artists who deserve our disrespect. Viewers, not so much. Anyway, so let's talk about the 5 greatest Shostakovich recordings. First, Symphony No. 10, arguably Shostakovich's greatest symphony, and its first great recording. Karl Ancerl and the Czech Philharmonic on Deutsche Grammophon. An amazing performance recorded in very, very fine mono around like 1954, within a couple of years of the symphony's premiere. It's astonishing just how great this performance is and how much better it is than Russian performances by like Ravinsky in Leningrad. I mean, he did very good things, but, he needed to make studio recordings. He's like all those people who poo-pooed technology. Okay, fine, poo-poo technology. But when your performances are full of mistakes and they sound like garbage, what are you supposed to do? People pretend it doesn't matter. It matters. And it matters when you hear a truly great performance, like Ancerl's, that has all of the precision, all of the excitement, all of the intensity, and none of the executional errors that you find in, Ravinsky and Leningrad. So, yeah, Shostakovich 10 with Ancerl. Next, the piano trios. I love Shostakovich's piano trios, especially the second, which is one of the great chamber works of the 20th century. It's been recorded lots and lots and lots of times. But if you want a single disc Shostakovich trios, fabulous, fabulous performance, go for the Trio Wanderer on Harmonia Mundi. The playing is absolutely perfect. The intensity of emotion in the finale of that trio is just staggering. And it's all done with consummate balances and phrasing and oh my gosh, it's just amazingly wonderful and gorgeously recorded. On top of it all, there's nothing not to love there. Third, Babi, Shostakovich's most, I think, gut-wrenching and most profound and humane symphony. An extraordinary piece of music. And Bernard Haitink and the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra just nail it. It's amazing just how fabulous that performance is. Haitink can always be, tended to be somewhat straight-laced, a little bit dour, often, in music that's obviously showy or flashy. He could sometimes be amazing because of his musicality, his insistence on basic musical values and his fabulous orchestra, the Concertgebouw. But sometimes he could just let the game down. But it's amazing the performances he did well. Shostakovich 12th, which is astounding. It's Shostakovich's weakest symphony, and it's one of his finest performances. He was always good with pieces that needed, I wouldn't call it special pleading, just absolutely superior musical values all the way through. And he does that in Babi. It's a brooding, intense, brilliantly played, gorgeously recorded performance of a work that reduces me to a puddle every time I hear it. It's such an incredibly intense and brilliant piece of music. It really is. glorious, heart-wrenching, soulful music making, and one of the absolute highlights of Haitink's discography. There's no question about that. Next, Lady Macbeth of Mtsensk district. This is such an easy call. Rostropovich and Vishnevskaya. If this isn't the most scorching opera performance anybody ever did of anything, I don't know what is. I mean, the opera itself is completely brutal and insane and stark and tragic. And oh my gosh, it's just marvelous. And this performance, wow, it is such a labor of love on behalf of everybody concerned. I mean, Vishnevskaya is at her absolute best. Rostropovich, whose conducting could kind of be iffy, is just on fire. The sex scene is one of the most graphic and hair-raising moments in all of recorded opera. The final scene in Siberia, where Vishnevskaya finally does in her rival, and they go off the cliff into the river, and the shrieking and screaming. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable, and it's never been equaled. There have been other performances, yes. There was it Maria Ewing with Chung, and then there was the more recent one, which was rather dull, with Andras Nelson's. But I don't know how anyone's ever going to better this one. I really don't. I mean, everybody is perfect in terms of casting, and the performance has the zealous labor of love by people who really felt they had to prove something to justify this opera's claim to be considered a masterpiece after, its terrible history. Stalin saw it, and Shostakovich was condemned, and they thought it was, at one point Stalin signed Shostakovich's death warrant. I mean, that was a little later, but he, from that point on, he was on the outs with the regime, and he put so much of his own heart and soul into this opera. It's really special. And this recording is just unbelievably dazzling. And last but not least, Symphony No. 5. It's Shostakovich's most famous symphony. And it's always been controversial because the question is the finale really happy, or is it fake happy? Is it really tragic? And if it is tragic, how do you realize it? I mean, the way to realize it is not really a secret, is to play the concluding pages slowly, really slowly, to let the dissonances really grind in the brass, and to let those violins with their repeated A's really dig into your soul and make it feel like this can't possibly be happy. And it's an amazing sort of aesthetic instance of what music can do, how it can, suggest one thing but really be another. And if Shostakovich hadn't told us that's what it was, I sometimes wonder if anybody would have guessed. But there is a performance where there's no question. Shostakovich didn't have to tell us. You know that optimistic ending is hollow. And that's Kurt Sanderling with the Berlin Symphony Orchestra. I mean, Shostakovich's own son, Maxim, did something quite similar in his Melodia recording, his original recording on Melodia. But this Berlin Classics recording with Kurt Sanderling is just hair-raising. It puts the symphony in its context as, it was supposed to be the work where Shostakovich rehabilitated himself. And after the disaster with Lady Macbeth of Mtsensk, and after having withdrawn his fourth symphony, which wasn't premiered until decades later in the 1960s, and this is 1939 or thereabouts. And this symphony has never had such an equivocal character, always walking that balance between triumph and tragedy, between happy and sad, between desperation and hope. I mean, however you want to portray the dichotomy, Kurt Sanderling just nails it. It's such a disturbing performance. And if you can listen to the symphony, and it's legitimate, you can listen to the symphony as a big, bold, very emotionally varied work with a basically happy conclusion. And that's legitimate. It's perfectly fine. But if you want the experience to be troubling, to be something that really makes you think, then you have to hear Kurt Sanderling's performance on Berlin Classics, the Symphony No. 5. It's really extraordinary. So there you have it, the 5 greatest Shostakovich recordings. I'm quite interested to hear your selection. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.